WCEG Network, Conversations in Education. Thank you for tuning in and being here on this terrific Tuesday. You're listening to the new WCEG Network on WCEGTalkRadio.com or watch us live on your smart TV, YouTube, or X, formerly known as Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I am Vincent Cheeks, and I am the show host of Conversations in Education for the next hour. We are the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Subscribe free to our YouTube channel at WCEG Network. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, which is X, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We have new platforms. Download our free WCEG mobile apps. On Apple phones, you go to your Apple Store. On Android devices, you go to the Google Play Store. Roku streaming, Alexa. All you have to do is type in WCEG Network or WCEG Talk Radio. We have 12 podcast distribution platforms: Apple, Amazon, Google, iHeartRadio, Castbox, Deezer, Spreaker, Spotify, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Good Pod, JioSaavn, which is in the country of India. Last but not least, the topics and opinions are those of the show host and guests and not of WCEG Network. Thank you, as always, for your continued support. And with that being said, I'm going to make a very brief announcement, and then we'll dive right into our show, and I will introduce my wonderful guest for today. The only announcement that I have for today is that the KLG Variety Showcase is almost upon us. The showcase will be July 27th, 2024 at the South Fulton Library from 2 to 5 p.m. The last audition for KLG Variety Showcase will be this Saturday, not this Saturday, but it will be May the 4th, 2024 at the South Fulton Library from 2 to 5 p.m. That's May 4th. We have one Saturday, May 18th, from 2 to 5 p.m. at the South Fulton Library. The auditions and casting calls are for the ages 5 through 17 and 17 to adult in the areas of dance, drama, music, and spoken word. The contact person is Mr. Kenny Green, and his email is kgreen877@gmail.com. Again, that is kgreen877@gmail.com. All right. It is a great opportunity for young people to showcase their talents, especially if they're just getting started. It's at the South Fulton Library. It is a small, quaint area for the students to perform in, and it's very comfortable, I must say. So yeah, it's a great opportunity for them to get their toes wet in the entertainment field. Once again, Saturday, July 27th is the KLG Variety Showcase. And with that being said, we're going to move into our program for today. And I want to welcome my very special guest, a very good friend of mine. She is an educator. She is a storyteller. She is an entertainer. Please welcome Ms. Gloria Elder to Conversations in Education. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's an honor to have you here, ma'am. I've worked with you on a couple of different occasions, on different events, but we'll get into that as we go along through the interview, okay? All right, so with that, let's get started. I think I've known you for about 3 years now, once I joined Kaumba.
It seems like more, but that's enough.
It does seem like more, because we've worked so closely together on some of these different projects, so it absolutely does feel like more. I must say, you are a pleasure to work with. You're very professional in everything that you do, and I greatly appreciate in your talents. So thank you for being you.
I thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Okay.
Oh, Mr.
So
Vincent.
I
say thank you, Vincent.
Yes, ma'am. So you have a quote that you have adopted, and the quote says, "Words lead to deeds. They prepare the soul Make It Ready, and Move It to Tenderness by Saint Teresa of Avila. Why did you adopt this quote for yourself?
It's been a while, so when I adopted this quote, I was writing stories on my own. And
Okay.
I began to think about it as the way the three parts of the story go. When you're writing a story, you must have a beginning, a middle, and an end, the same as when you're telling a story.
Right.
But when I started to look at that quote, I saw that this is the way stories and writing stories go. And it fit right in with what I was doing at the time because stories begin with words or gestures. They
Okay.
ask a question and hence prepares its listeners. And the middle of the story develops the story, takes you on the journey, detail by detail. And it offers a cohesive plot. And then the ending, which is the conclusion, resolves the central problem or conflict, and it satisfies the soul, hence the tenderness. So, not so much as it is a surprise ending, but you want to walk away with the fact that you are satisfied. So that's why I chose this quote.
Okay. So you said a mouthful there as far as writing a story. You said in the beginning of a story, you ask a question,
Mhm.
right? The
Right?
middle of the story takes you on a journey from the question that was asked in the beginning.
Yes, right. You go on the journey to move through the story to because by the end you want to make sure that the story ending resolves whatever you went through. For an example, if you are going on a journey, then and you're telling someone about that journey, you have to make sure that you're giving people detail by detail.
Right.
So it sets up the plot.
Okay.
Then it ends with a conclusion. And does the ending connect to the beginning and the middle? That's the most important part. Are they
Okay.
cohesive?
Right. So it has to have a cohesion and a flow to it to make sense to the audience listening
At the very end?
at
Yes.
the very end. Okay. Got you. And so you mentioned writing stories and you just gave pretty much the format for writing stories. So how did you come about getting involved in writing stories yourself?
I started penning the stories that my grandparents told me when I was a young girl.
Okay.
I grew up around grandparents who were griots. And if you visited them during the summer when you were out of school, they told you stories at the end of the day. And I was so enthralled and taken aback by those stories. And I wanted to remember them. So I started writing them. So
Oh,
that's how I got involved initially with writing stories.
okay. And that's a pretty cool beginning, so let's say, to have your grandparents telling you oral stories and then you decided to write them down so you could remember them. That's pretty powerful. And you said your grandparents were griots. What exactly is a griot?
A griot is in Africa, just like my grandparents, I liken them to a lot of the African traditions. As I got older,
Okay.
I could see that they were traditionally following African traditions. And
Okay.
a griot is a person who shares, the oldest person in the family, who shares stories, passing them down to the next generation so that we can pass them on to the next generation through uh, just words, just sharing through words, not
O-
necessarily writing them.
Okay. And you're educating our listening audience and me. And we love to learn here at Conversations in Education. So can you spell griot for us?
Griot.
Gia, okay. I wasn't sure if the T was supposed to be in there or not, but I'm glad I asked.
Yes.
And so they were like the griots were like the were they would they be considered like the wise or the wise people or the shaman back in the day?
Well, in my family, the griot is the person who is honored as the elder,
Okay.
who is the elder of the family, and they are the ones who share the stories to help you to understand who you are and where you come from. And that's
Okay.
close to what the African culture does. In Africa, they do call them the wise ones, or they call them the sages,
Sages, that's the other word I was looking
people who knew. In fact, I did a story called uh, Babu the Sage, which is about my grandfather, a story about my grandfather.
for. Okay. Okay, I like that. Babu the Sage. And is Babu African for
African
grandfather?
word meaning it meaning papa,
Okay.
father.
That's excellent. So I'm sensing you have a real connection to honoring the elders in the community.
I'm sorry, say that again.
You have a real connection with honoring the elders in the community.
Oh yes, very much so.
And why is that important to you?
That's so important is because these are the people on whose shoulders you are learning to stand. They
Absolutely.
set the example for me, and they passed it on to me, giving me a responsibility to share it and pass it on. That way, your history stays alive.
Absolutely. Okay, so there was a question asked, will the griot be considered like a historian also? So you just answered that. They would be considered a historian in the community also.
Right.
Okay. That's a pretty heavy responsibility. But I guess they wouldn't have made it to being an elder if they weren't up to the challenge. So I can definitely appreciate that. All right. And so your early career, you worked in early childhood education. Can you explain a little bit about what you did in that capacity?
Yes, I worked in early childhood education for 17 years.
Okay.
I started as a preschool teacher, and I was hired without an education degree.
Oh, wow.
I had graduated from college, Spelman College,
Okay.
and I had some detours along my path that prevented me from moving to my next intended degree, which would have been in law and criminology.
Okay.
And I was living at home, and my dad said, listen, since you're not going to do that, you have 6 months to find a job or to go back to school and figure out what you're going to do.
Oh, wow.
And so I said, sure. And I was looking in the paper and saw that there was job offers in a community here in Atlanta called Summerhill. And they were starting up a program from scratch. And I went and applied and come to find out that it was a woman who was a professor at Spelman, and she gave me that opportunity.
Okay.
My interview, I guess, must have moved her, or, whatever. She said, okay, you're hired. So I took the job. But I wasn't too much afraid about
Okay.
that, except I had been a teacher because as the oldest child in my family, the oldest granddaughter in my family,
Okay.
I walked a mile in my grandmother's shoes, and she taught me and carried me around and had me do everything. So I assisted her in Sunday school. She created a little red schoolhouse in the summertime for kids in the community. I was her assistant there. So I loved working with children, so I knew that.
Okay.
And by that time, by the time I had moved into that job, after the first year, the boss said to me, well, you're really good at this. Uh, if you'd like to stay in this position, you know, you can get your degree in education. And so she gave me that opportunity and I took it. She
Okay.
gave me opportunity to go to school, go back. I had to go back to undergrad to get my education because my background, as I said, was sociology, criminology. And
Okay.
she gave me opportunity to go back while still working at a daycare center to
Okay.
get my education degree. And when I got that, I went ahead and got my master's in early childhood education and administration.
Okay. That is excellent. See, that's why I enjoy doing these interviews because I had no idea that you were in early childhood education. And I didn't know you were in sociology, criminal justice either, because that was criminal justice was my major and I was at
Mhm.
FAMU, HBCU. Woohoo. And then once I graduated in criminology, I realized I didn't really want to go in that arena. I just chose that major because that's what my sister did. Um, and then I went back to school to get my certification as an educator at Georgia State University.
Okay.
When I was,
Very interesting. We have something in common here.
we do. Hey, look, you've been my wife twice, and I didn't know any of these things. We'll get to that a little bit later about how Miss Gloria Elder has played my wife in two different
Okay.
productions we've been in.
Okay.
But right now we're still on the education. Um, so you said you were in early childhood education for 17 years, right?
Yes.
And what facilitated you leaving the educational field?
Well, you know, if I understand your question, say what facilitated.
You leaving the educational field, like
Oh,
how did you
okay.
get out of
Yes.
it?
I had done everything one could do in the early childhood education arena. I started out as a preschool teacher. I moved up to social worker,
Okay,
parent coordinator to chief cook and bottle washer. By the
okay,
time, by that time, I felt fulfilled and I started looking for a job.
okay,
And at that time, when I left, I just put my name in the universe and started telling friends that I was looking for a job. And one day, while I was at home, there were no cell phones. As director, I left. I wasn't feeling well that morning, so I called my staff and said I won't be in. But if anybody calls me, give them my home phone number.
okay,
And this lady called me and said, "You've been recommended to work with, you've been recommended. I'm looking for someone who can write programs for preschool children,
okay,
especially in stress education." And I was given your name. And she said, "I'd like to interview you." So we set up a place where, no, I'd like to get your application. So we met at a place where we ironically were both there at the same time, the Butler Street Y downtown Atlanta. I was
okay,
downstairs teaching what we call whole body fitness, and
okay,
she was upstairs taking African dance. And when she met me, we met after each of our classes downstairs on the front steps. And I gave her my application. She didn't look at it. She just said, "You're hired." So I went
okay,
into holistic stress education from at that point in time and started writing programs for preschoolers and developed a program called the Preschool Stress Relief Project. And it was a program for preschoolers, parents, and educators. And we developed three modules and we started implementing those programs in daycare and private school settings for early childhood educators.
okay. So, wow, you did a lot. You were right. You did do a lot in the educational field. So, writing curriculum, um, is that something you had to go back to school for, or was that just something you learned how to do in your education process journey?
Well, during the I had not didn't have to go to school formally to do that.
Okay,
While I was at the daycare center, I wrote programs and I did my thesis on an open education model program for parents, preschool children, their parents, and teachers. I'd already done that.
Okay.
And I was teaching parents how to manage stress. This community that I was in was what we call, quote unquote, low income community.
Right.
I just call people who were living in a community. I don't call the families low income.
Right.
I call
Yeah.
the communities were dubbed as low income
Correct.
communities.
Correct.
And they were a lot of teen parents. And I developed programs to support them.
Okay.
So I was teaching some level of the kinds of things. And I was writing, I had to have outlines, and I had to be able to have structure for
Right.
parents. And so from there, when I went into the early childhood education program with Holistic Stress Control Institute, we together came up with, my partner and I developed this program.
Okay.
And at the time, there was nothing in the universe on preschoolers and stress. First of all, if you talk to parents about your children having stress, they look at you strange and say,
Right.
"What? They
Right.
don't have stress. They
They're
don't have a
children.
job,"
Right. They're children.
you know? And we were helping them to understand that they do have stress, because everybody has stress. Stress is anything that causes a change in your body. And
Right.
all of this comes from feelings, body changes, feelings, happy, sad, scared, and mad. So we were able to develop this model and implement it both locally and across the country, including India and the US Virgin Islands.
Okay. That's excellent. That's pretty impressive. That not only did you come up with a stress program for adults, that's the holistic stress education, right?
Right,
But then you also came with a stress relief project for children, for preschoolers,
right.
called the
Preschool,
Preschool Stress Relief Project.
right.
And so, were these two separate entities, or are these in something you did in conjunction with each other, where the parents and the students were learning together how to de-stress?
Exactly. This was in conjunction.
Okay.
What we have in school, what we discovered, what I really discovered, is that your children are the nucleus. That's the group that you are serving. That's the group that you see if you're the teacher every day. But
Right.
you can't train children and teach children in a vacuum.
Correct.
So we included a model program around parents, with the parents, what we call enveloping the children. So
Okay.
they formed a circle around that nuclear circle.
Right.
And then comes the educators, who forms a circle around the parents. So you have a three-tier model.
Okay.
And that three-tier model means that everybody that's involved in the lives of children are learning and doing the same things.
Hmm.
Hence, it increases the a possibility that children will learn skills that will help them to manage stress and
Right.
anger, because everybody is on the same page, for
Right.
lack
And
of a
it's
better term.
right. And it's teaching these children to manage stress at an early age and giving them strategies that they can carry throughout the rest of their lives, correct?
Absolutely.
That is absolutely amazing to me. That's pretty impressive. I'm super impressed with that, man.
And
Good
the
job.
thing that we liked about it is that the curriculum was active. Children could come up and they could act out happy, sad, happy, sad, scared, and
Yeah.
mad.
Yeah.
And they could really feel how they felt and begin to realize the body changes that happen when you feel this way.
Mm.
You're happy, you got a smile, you feel light. You're angry, you feel tight and tense muscles. All these things were so fun to do. And we added songs, we added puppets with
Okay.
feelings, happy on one side, two-faced puppets, happy on one side, scared on the other, mad on one side, sad on the other. And so it made it, children began to really see and feel and understand these things, but they also recognize that they could manage this. You can't get rid of stress. It's here to stay. Stress got me to this point today where I am this, because there's a change in the
Right.
body. But what we have to understand in our community and our school systems especially is that we can teach our youth how to manage and balance their feelings, their stress,
Right.
positively rather than negatively. Pretty much they know how to handle them negatively because they
Right.
get all of the examples.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so when you were just speaking, I heard you mention you all, the children were able to participate in acting, they were participating in singing, they were participating in puppetry, which I didn't know until I went out to an event with Mr. Kenny at South Fulton Library.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really, I had never seen how children reacted to puppets before going out to Mr. Kenny. And those children were really like, he had, I don't even know how many puppets Mr. Kenny had, but he had 4, 5, 6, I don't know, different ones. And the children were just so engaged and so locked in to these puppets when he was up there performing. It was absolutely amazing to me.
Mm-hmm.
So to think that that could be used as a teaching tool and a coping tool for young people is pretty cool, if you ask me.
Yes.
I
And
don't
we
know if
have
you ever go ahead.
programs not only for preschoolers, but for middle school, high school students involved with the law,
Okay.
seniors, for businesses in the corporate rooms. All
Yeah.
of these are things that is important for everybody throughout their lifespan, throughout our lifespans.
Okay. And so with all of those things, the singing, the acting, the puppetry, um, do you believe that the arts should be an integral part of the education system? And why or why not?
Yes, definitely. I think that the education system should continue or look for creative ways to offer art because our children are natural artists.
Very true.
You
Very true.
know, children are naturally drawn to the arts. They use their bodies to learn,
Yes.
especially our African American children. I've seen, we have different learning styles. Some people are
Yeah.
kinesthetic learners, some
Yeah.
people are detailed learners. You have left brain, right brain learners.
Yes.
Most light brain, learners are creative, and that's what
Right.
we have in our community. It's a
Correct.
lot of right brain learners
Yeah.
because we learn by moving and doing. And so music was an integral part of the communities I worked in. Children could dance, I mean, just jump up and start dancing if they heard drums. They didn't have to have a certain way they danced. They just got up and started moving their body,
Moving. Right.
and they could remember that. And of course, that was not only just the children doing that, but they had parents and the community who danced.
Right.
So they were inundated with this. So I used music to give instructions for children to follow to help them to learn. And I think that that's so important is that you create ways to help children learn
Right.
and you meet each child where they are. Hence,
Absolutely.
I developed an individualized program and for my preschoolers before I left the preschool program. So it is so important that we can see and touch each child individually every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I remember when I was teaching in Bankhead, and I taught first and second grade in Bankhead. And I put on well, first I started a hip hop dance team at my principal's suggestion when she saw me dancing in the hallway one day. And then my hip hop dance team needed a venue to perform, so I created a talent show and invited other students from the school outside of the dance team to come and participate in the talent show. And that was the first time I realized that our children like you said, are right brain creatives at a very early age. The problem is that there was no one encouraging and nurturing the gifts and talents that the students had. And
Mm-hmm.
so once I had this dance team and put on the talent show, now I was able to use those things to also discipline the children, because I told them, you're not going to be acting up in class and be a part of this. You're not going to be disrespecting your classmates and your teachers and be a part of this. You're not going to be disrespecting your parents at home and be a part of this. And the children wanted it so bad that they straightened up and they did what they were supposed to do. And so I just think that the arts are not only a valuable teaching tool as far as education is concerned, but it's also a valuable teaching tool as far as discipline is concerned. And I'm sure you know that if you don't have discipline in a classroom, then you really don't have a classroom. Okay.
You're absolutely right. If you don't have structure.
Correct.
And I also found out that children, they also crave structure. They always want to know,
Yeah.
well, what are we going to do next? Well, what are we going to do next? As an educator, you got to be ready.
Right. Absolutely.
And you got to know each one of your children so that you are not just doing something for the whole class when you do it, but you got to understand how to create models that involves every child you have. And some pieces may cause you to do a little bit extra work overnight.
Right.
But you find that the more structured you have, the less behavior problems you're going to have anyway.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So you gave us a little history of your background in the educational field. You moved from education to writing curriculums to doing holistic stress education for adults, preschool stress relief project for preschoolers, which is absolutely amazing to me. And so, how did you wind up in the storytelling entertainment area that you're in now?
That's a funny question. When I think about it, I've always been involved in some form of sharing and talking and using my voice for educating.
Okay.
So when I moved out of the education system with preschoolers, because that's where I started, remember?
Right.
I started during that time implementing programs in school systems where I was teaching yoga to teachers in after school programs.
Really?
And yes, and at the same time, I had friends in the early childhood education arena who was encouraging me, say, I hear you talking about some of the things that, you learned from your grandparents. Those are good stories to tell. So I always kept that as under my sleeve. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Okay.
And so when I got into Holistic Stress Control Institute, and that was between 1988 and 2020, I was telling stories. I joined Kaumba, and I
Okay.
started telling stories. I always credit my brother and sister, Akbar Imhotep.
Okay.
Akbar
Oh,
was
okay.
the person
Power.
who helped us develop the puppetry for the preschool stress relief feeling body changes and stress program. We
Okay.
hired him.
Okay.
And so we developed a relationship, he and I, and he started encouraging me. He says, Gloria, you got all these stories. I want you to come to this meeting and I want you to just share this story. I was sharing a story about my grandfather and how he ended up with how we still have this large acreage of land in Noonan, Georgia. And
Okay.
I went, and this was maybe 2006. And I joined Kaumba and started telling stories right away.
You joined Kaumba in 2006?
Yes.
Oh wow, you You really been in this for a long time. That's
So
pretty
you,
impressive.
yeah, so that's how I got. I've always had something. I've always done more than one thing at the same time.
Right.
So
Most
once I got into this, I was able to even writing programs and training in the community for seniors and for elementary and preschool programs. My side, as they would say, hustle, unquote, was that I was telling stories somewhere,
right.
whether in churches, I would share my craft with churches in the community and my mom's community in Noonan. And so I would go there and tell stories and do different things. So I did that and also I also served as the education chair for Kaumba.
Okay.
I've also served as the treasurer for Kaumba, vice president, and president
Okay.
throughout those years.
Okay. I believe you were president when I joined 3 years ago.
Okay. Okay. So that must have been around 2021.
21. Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
Right at in the middle of COVID.
Right. Absolutely.
I was the COVID-19 president.
Yeah.
So we had to move into Zoom meetings.
right.
And that was new to me. So I had to learn all of that. And here I am.
And I think you did an excellent job, ma'am. Madam
Thank you.
President, as I used to call
That's
you.
exactly what you used to say.
And so you mentioned the Kaumba Storytellers of Georgia. Can you please tell our listening audience what exactly is the Kaumba Storytellers of Georgia, please?
Well, Kaumba Storytellers of Georgia is a 29-year-old organization of African American storytellers. And it was formed in 1995 by several local Atlanta storytellers. And it's an affiliate, it became an affiliate of the National Association of Black Storytellers
Okay.
right here in Atlanta after some of those members went to a NABS conference. Now, the mission for Kaumba is to preserve the African oral tradition, provide awareness on the cultural history of African and African American people, and to serve as an educational resource in the community.
Okay.
And we will be doing more things coming up, and I can tell you at the very end. But Kaumba means creativity,
Yes.
and that's Swahili for one of the days of Kwanzaa, the sixth day of Kwanzaa. And
Okay.
so this encourages and increases our ability to put our imaginations to work and use our creative energies and talents to build and maintain a strong and vibrant community because we tell throughout our community.
Okay. And what type of locations and places do you tell stories in?
We provide programs in schools, universities, festivals, museums, corporate and community events, and churches, just to name a few. In other words, we will tell stories on the mountaintop.
Anywhere that you're requested, huh?
Yes, and sometimes we'll make our own places to tell.
Okay. And so did you said Kumba started out as an affiliate of the National Association of Black Storytellers?
Yes.
NABS. Okay, so and now what exactly is NABS and how does NABS and Kaumba Storytellers of Georgia differ from one?
All right. NABS, of course, is the acronym for, it's the short for National Association of Black Storytellers, so affectionately known as NABS. And it's the place where you can hear, feel, see the authentic voice of Black storytelling. And when I say Black storytelling, I want you to write that word, all one word, Black storytelling.
Okay.
And it was developed, it was founded by two esteemed storytelling sisters, Mary Carter Smith, and who was in Baltimore, Maryland, and God rest her soul, she's an ancestor now, and
Okay.
Mama Linda Goss of Philadelphia. And these two sisters came together and co-founded the National Association of Black Storytellers. And they started this with the idea of giving more opportunities for African American storytellers to be heard, and for more about the rich heritage of the African oral tradition and how it should be shared and preserved. And they
Okay.
conceived this idea in 1982.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now, how are they different? Well, they similar. How are they similar first?
Okay.
These organizations are similar because they focus on preserving the African American oral tradition. We're similar because we are the family. So they are different because Nabs is the mother and Kaumba is one of his children.
Oh, okay.
Nabs has about 15 affiliates throughout the country. And the mother guides the family, as we know. These are my, what I'm using as analogies. The mother guides the family, and we grow and develop. Now, as the child, Kaumba works in its immediate community day to day, offering storytelling workshops, collaborating with other like organizations.
Okay.
And NABS annually brings us all together to attend a festival and conference to be held in some city in the United States.
Okay.
We change cities every year for what I call, quote, a family reunion, unquote.
Okay.
And along with several other of its children, which all of these affiliates come together under one roof in some city. And these members get together and perform, share stories, education workshops, and dance, and just all kinds of happy things. You know, just think about a family reunion.
Right,
and then,
right.
Oh, what a time we have, man. When we get together, you know that you've been once you came. And once you go, you want to keep going back. At least that's what happened for me.
Got you. So would it be fair to say that NABS is a national organization and Kaumba is more of a just situated in Georgia?
Local, yes.
Local. Okay. Yeah. All right. That makes sense. All right. Well, that's excellent. I've learned a lot about you today, Miss Gloria Elder, and I must say I'm quite impressed with your resume and the things that you do and have done in the community. This is absolutely wonderful. This is what we at WCEG Network, we love to hear these type of stories and people who speak life into the community and bring life into the community in the ways that you have just expressed. Like, I'm thoroughly impressed with your background.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. We got about 15 more minutes left. So we're gonna move through the questions. So how would someone go about if they wanted to become a member of Kaumba or NABS? What would they have to
do? You go to their websites, kaumbastorytellers.org, and follow the link to becoming a member. The same thing for the National Association of Black Storytellers.
Okay.
.org, and follow the links to join, to become a member.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, ma'am. And now let me just say this before I move on. Like, I never thought I would be a part of a storytelling organization. That was never my thing, even though I can tell stories through poetry. And it's actually easier for me to tell stories through poetry than just writing an actual story. But the reason I am a member of Kaumba Storytellers is because of our friend, Mr. Kenny. I met Mr. Kenny I was going to be participating in one of his KLG variety showcases, and then COVID hit. And so we weren't able to have that program. Shortly after that, he told me about Kaumba and asked me if I wanted to join. And I really wanted to say no, but he was such a pleasant and engaging fella.
But he was telling you, not asking you.
Right. And so I was kind of pressured into joining, but I must say, once I joined, and everyone was so friendly and welcoming, just so helpful. And everyone in the organization not only does Kaumba, but they do so many other things. Next month, I'll be having Deborah Strayhorn on so she could tell all the wonderful things that she does. I think you're maybe the fifth member of Kaumba that I've had on the show. So all of you all are doing wonderful things in the community, and I'm just part. I'm glad I'm a part of something like that. As Penny says all the time, I'm glad I know you.
Well, we're glad to have you among us.
All right. So let's move into discussing capturing the spirit of Oakland. Can you share with the audience what capturing the spirit of Oakland is and how long you have been a part of this production?
Capturing the Spirit of Oakland is one of the signature annual storytelling events put on by the Oakland Cemetery Foundation in the cemetery. And storytellers, actors, performers tell stories about the people who are buried in the cemetery.
Correct.
It takes place 2 weekends in October, the last 2 weekends in October. And I don't know, they've been around a while, but I joined them almost 10 years ago.
Really?
Yes.
That's why that's why you had trouble remembering all the characters you played. That's a long time.
Yes, and through the recommendation of our sister storyteller, who is a friend of mine, Lodoris Bias Davis.
Okay.
I was
Hi, Lodoris.
recommended by her.
Okay. So was I. So was I. And so what has your experience been like working on capturing the spirit of Oakland?
I've learned the importance of telling other people's stories because it keeps them alive. The African
Absolutely.
proverb says, a person is never truly dead until they are forgotten.
Yes.
I've also witnessed the family members who are alive come out to hear these stories.
Yeah.
And I just love seeing their faces light up when they hear someone share a bit of their family history.
Uh-oh.
Just
Gloria,
learning about the
I
accomplishments.
think we lost you. Miss Elder?
Yes.
Oh, there you go. Okay, you froze up for a second.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Go ahead, continue.
Yes, I've learned, so much about the accomplishments and struggles of the lives of African Americans that are buried in that national park cemetery, because it's a national park as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay.
And it is one of the, I think, most well-attended events because they have several events at the Oakland Cemetery.
Sells out every year. Every year it sells out.
Right.
And to your point, you mentioned it keeps their stories alive. I enjoy doing CSO because I learned so much about some of the earlier people who really helped build the city of Atlanta. The first people that I played 3 years ago and who I played with you was James and Olivia Tate, right?
Right.
James Tate was one of the richest people in Atlanta after the Civil War. And he helped build one of the first churches. He helped build the first Black elementary school. And there was something else he built. I can't remember. But he did so many great things. I felt honored to be standing in his shoes, being able to tell his story. And when I first came on, you, Cheryl, Mia, all these veterans who had been doing it before, y'all were just so pleasant and welcoming and helpful and just don't be nervous. Just do this, just do that. Just, oh, you'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like y'all were just nurturing. That's the word that I'm looking for. Very nurturing with me and with other. I was a little intimidated at first, just wanted to make sure that you memorize everything and that you tell the story correctly. I didn't want to mess that up. So a lot of pressure for me as far as that concerned.
But once you get the shakes off, you're good to go.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just for the hormones, for the natural.
I'm a 3-year veteran now.
And you keep learning.
And I keep learning. And I will say this: I don't know if you know, I did my first stage play back in February in Atlanta.
Of course not. You didn't tell me.
Well, it was it was called Deep Greenwood Ignited. It was a last minute thing. I was inserted in the last 2 weeks and had to learn it all in a very short period of time.
Okay.
But it was the lead role that I happened to get because of Jason Lowder. You know Jason, right? He works at CSO. He's a tall, dark skinned guy.
Yeah, I know Jason.
Yeah. So he couldn't make the production, the opening day of the production in February because of work he was doing on BMF. He had to fly to LA, and that flight coincided with opening day of the play. So he asked me to replace him, and it was the lead role in the play. It was about the formation of Black Wall Street and the ensuing riot that followed. And you know, I was dropped into this thing. I wasn't sure if I could really handle it, but I did because I wanted to represent Jason well. I wanted to represent the play well, and the director, Mia Walters. It was just an overall great experience. But I say all that to say, my experience on capturing the spirit of Oakland the past 3 years is what prepared me to even be able to step in and fill that role for Jason.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I must say, I did knock it out the park. I did a great job. I think I impressed a lot of people.
Wonderful.
But it was a very cool thing to be a part of. And I have to credit CSO, Captain Spirit of Oakland, for preparing me to be able to do that. So
I love that.
That's one of the biggest things I've learned at CSO. Do you have any special memories about working at CSO?
Yeah, one of my special memories was that, as I said earlier, just meeting some of the family members of the characters I played.
Okay.
And seeing their faces light up. One of my special memories happened during COVID-19, and I performed for them a character for the first time on Zoom.
Okay.
And I was so nervous. I was not familiar so well with Zoom at that time. And I just kept going, as my director would say, just keep going. And I made it through to the end. But I will never forget that. I'd love to play that character again.
Okay.
So, we'll see along the way.
Which character was that?
You would ask me that. It was a woman, and I actually had to audition for it.
Okay.
Because it was during COVID and they could only take one actor.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes, and so I was chosen out after the audition. But it was a great role.
Okay.
And I did a TV spot, a morning TV spot on Channel 5 to advertise it.
Okay.
And that was on site, so that was wonderful.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So do you have any upcoming events coming up that people can come see you in?
I do have one event that I have planned to do, and I am signing up to perform at Kaumba's annual Mama and Father Tales Juneteenth event on May the 19th, where I'll present a story about my father.
Okay.
First time I've ever done a story about my father. It's usually been about my grandparents. So I'm looking forward to signing up for that. When I get off this line, I'll email the president and let him know I want to do that.
Okay.
I just performed for REI last Saturday for Earth Day on a big stage in the West End on White Street. It was a lot of fun. REI is the Recreational Entertainment Inc. sports company. Beautiful operation. Met a lot of good people. Can you hear me?
It looks like Vince has frozen.
Did I freeze? Okay.
No, Vince is frozen. It's
Vincent, it's
okay, Miss
frozen.
Gloria. This has been, we were about to wrap. You
Okay.
can finish out your last few statements. Vince has frozen, so we're going to, yeah, he dropped off. So Miss Gloria, I have just been sitting here just amazed by your, can you hear me?
Yes.
I have just been amazed by your story, just the information and the education that you have provided for our audience.
Thank
You
you.
have empowered me. I'm almost tempted to call Mr. Green myself because we found out we graduated the same high school.
Wonderful.
Yes, and I am tempted to call him to get involved, but my schedule is so hectic right now with all these productions I have to do daily. But I'm tempted to join the
Join Kaumba.
Kahumba storyteller. I
But
mean,
Mr. Kenny does this every year.
right.
Yeah, so you still got, down the road when it's time, you will join.
It is just, I mean, but just listening at, and Vince is excited every time he talks about it. He's just so excited anytime a production is about to take place, and he'll come back into town from, he's between Florida and Atlanta, and he'll come in town and he will let our audience know when different productions are being put on. And so I've just been enthralled just sitting here listening to you and the other storytellers that have come on over the past few years since Vince has been a part.
Oh, thank
And
you so much.
so thank you. No, I really want to thank you, and just to be able to let you know that I sent you a Facebook friend request because I want to keep up more and more with your events and the productions. And Mr.
You.
Green, I'm going to reach out to him as well and let him know I shared the story on his page, this Zoom
Okay.
on his page today.
Okay.
So that
Lastly,
he
can
can
I
share
share
that.
my information, follow-up information, contact?
Yes, I do. I've posted on the social media right now. I have
Okay.
posted all of the websites for kahumbastorytellers.org.
Okay.
I've posted, because I was just listening at every question and everything that Vince was asking you to share with our audience about the nabsnabsinc.org.
Mm-hmm.
And the quote that you gave us, or the saying that when you mention a person is never really dead until they are forgotten, that
Right.
just touched my heart.
Yeah.
That touched my heart, and keeping the memories of loved ones and different people in my family, keeping them alive in my
Yeah.
heart. And so
Yes.
when you made that statement, I went, oh, I've been doing the right thing. Okay. So
Yes. It's
yeah, just
called their
keeping their
name.
memory.
Mm-hmm.
It is just amazing. So I'm sorry, I don't want to stop, but I just wanted to come in because I saw where Vincent was
Yeah,
freezing
he,
up,
he,
and
he
then he,
sent a text saying that his internet went out.
okay, and that's why we pretty much have, I stay by my monitor to make sure that I'm listening at every word, just in case something goes wrong like that. I'm able to come
Oh,
in and fill
yeah.
in. But thank you
Yeah.
so much, Miss Gloria.
Yeah.
When you get a
You're
chance
welcome.
to, do you have a particular website or email? I mean, I know you referred others to the Kahumba and the NAB's websites, but do you have any specific email that you want to um, uh, make public, or is it just private or anything
Yes.
like that name?
Yes, I do.
Okay, what
Uh,
email can I share?
yes, Gloria Elder at Comcast.net.
Hold on one second. Gloria Elder. So is this something you want me to keep, or I can put this out
You
there?
can put it out.
Okay, Gloria Elder at Comcast.net.
Yes.
Great,
And
great.
lastly, I just want, one of the questions I thought was important. What advice do you have for anyone who may
Amen.
want to get involved with storytelling and entertainment? And I just want to say, have a passion for telling.
All right.
Choose the stories that you love. You gotta love it. Telling some stories requires some research. Biographical stories do, of course, but you must be able to embody the character if you're telling biographical stories, and then
Mm,
continue to perfect your craft.
Amen. I love that. I love that Vincent was able to come back in with us on his cell phone, I can tell.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Um,
It uses less power, but Miss Gloria was just finishing her question, the last question that you posed to her
Okay,
about
thank you.
what advice. And
yeah.
I've just been telling her how much I have enjoyed listening at her storytelling today and her experiences, and just I learned a lot. I learned a lot today.
Yeah, me too.
It was
Me too.
amazing, and I posted all the websites and everything that she has recommended to our audience. And I'll let
Mhm.
you close out. I'll hush now, okay? And I'll let you
Okay,
close out.
so we're gonna wrap up now, right?
Yes,
Or
unless
did you
you
wrap up
have.
already?
No, no, we're still
Okay.
live.
Oh, okay.
We're still
Sorry,
live.
everyone.
That's
My
okay.
internet went out. Sorry about that, everyone. Um, and so Gloria, thank you for staying professional, even with the glitch. Um, and thank you for the advice you've given any storyteller or entertainer that wants to come into this industry. Did you wrap that up, or did you have some more to say?
Uh, I I'd say continue to perfect your craft is the last thing I said, but I want people to know that it's hard work, but if you love it, you'll excel at it. Lastly, it's
That's
a
very true.
journey. It's a journey, not a destination.
It
So
is.
enjoy the journey. Go through the go through the steps to get to your destination.
And that's really good advice, I have to say, because for a long time on my journey, I didn't realize that it was a journey and that it was a process that has to play out, and you can't necessarily rush the process. And so, yeah, once I realized that it was a process and I couldn't force things to go the way I wanted it to go, no matter how hard I tried, I had to take a step back and just let things flow and grow and evolve organically, instead of trying to push my envelope the way I wanted.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that sounds like some of that sage wisdom that you got from your parents and your grandparents.
Yes, it's the
um,
journey that counts,
it
it's
is.
the journey that creates the growth.
Absolutely, absolutely. How can people get in contact with you for your services?
I just gave that to Penny, but it's Gloria
Oh,
Elder at Comcast.net. I think she's on
Gloria
pretty,
Elder. Okay. Gloria Elder at Comcast.net.
yes.
Okay. All right. And one final question before I let you go. You mentioned to me the other day that you are a Qigong master. Did I say that right?
Yes.
You are a Qigong master and certified instructor. What exactly is Qigong and how is it beneficial for people?
All right. Qigong is known as the healing exercise from China that
Okay.
has profound health benefits. See, Qi means energy, and everything is energy.
Yes.
Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can be transformed. So that
Yes.
energy, building and cultivating that energy means that Gong means the work, means you're going to participate in exercises that cultivates that energy.
Okay.
And Qi means the use of energy for self-care and healing. Now, Qigong has thousands of different forms. And Tai Chi, most people in America know Tai Chi because it's the most popular.
Correct.
Now, the benefits Qigong are it reduces stress and disease, it increases your energy, it promotes wellness and healing, and balancing the mind, the body, and spirit. We call that the whole person. We are not just physical beings. We have our mind, a spirit that connects with this
Okay.
body.
Okay.
So if you are interested in
Correct.
Qigong, send me an email to glorialaverne@gmail.com. And that's Gloria, GLORIALAVERNE
Yes.
@gmail.com.
GloriaLaverne@gmail.com.
Yes.
All right. Laverne is my sister's middle name.
All
We
right.
have so much stuff in common.
Yeah.
You said something really interesting that I've heard before, and you said that energy. What did you say? Energy doesn't die; it just
It cannot be
transforms.
created
Okay.
nor destroyed.
It cannot be created nor destroyed,
Yes.
only
Everything is
transformed.
energy.
Right. So, with that being said, in essence, what you're saying is, what I hear you saying is, we never truly really die.
No,
Correct?
you don't. Before
We
time
did.
was, we were energetic, we were energy beings in the universe. We were given an opportunity to show up in this body form that we have right
Right.
here to do some work on earth for a little while.
For a little while.
And when our
Okay.
bodies go back to dust, our souls, our energy goes back into the ethers. So that energy you're
Absolutely.
able to
Okay.
connect with
I just
anytime you want.
got you.
And you can
Got you.
use certain kinds of energy from the universe. You can use energy from the universe to help you heal, like breathing in the breath. The breath is so important. Deep breathing is so important. It's one of the
Okay.
energies of the universe that connects us all. If we didn't have breath, nobody would be here, right?
Right.
It's the number one.
Right.
So that's the
Yeah.
best way to manage your life and your stress is do a lot of breathing. Just
So
yes.
so qigong is body and breath work.
Yes. You use
Okay.
4 major elements in Qigong. You're going to have the body, which is, no, I'm sorry. You're going to have the, I'm sorry, hold up. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to have, you're going to have the breath. You're going to use the mind visualization. You're going to
Okay.
visualize seeing yourself. And then you're going to do some body postures and movement, involve some movement. And there's
Okay.
sound, meaning that you use music or you can chant. All of these things mixed
Okay.
together increases your healing ability and it promotes wellness. The body is designed to heal itself,
Okay.
but
Yes.
Qigong will
Absolutely.
help you,
Absolutely.
you know, to do that
And you've been practicing qigong for how long?
much more efficiently.
How long have you been practicing qigong?
How long what?
Have you been practicing? Because you're a master now. You're a master now. That means you got some of that
I
sage
started
wisdom
this
under your belt.
practice in 1998,
Okay.
and
Excellent.
I was deemed a master after practicing so long. And the creator of my style of Qigong is Master Chunyi Lin. And
Okay.
he created Spring Forest Qigong. And if you want to know more about him, go to springforestqigong.com.
Rainforest. And qigong is spelled Q-U
QI,
Q-I-G-O-N-G.
yes. But I teach Qigong every Friday morning in College Park
Okay, and where do you do that?
I teach that at the Conley Recreation Center, 3636 College Street, College Park, Georgia.
Okay. Excellent. Absolutely wonderful. You are a barrel full of joy and just stress relief. Okay. That I had no idea about. I want to thank you for joining us here today on Conversations in Education on the WCEG Network. You have been an absolute joy, and I am so impressed with all of this stuff that you have been doing and that you do in the community. You mentioned earlier you do training for seniors that we didn't even get into, but you do a whole lot, and that's a lot of love, I have to say. And that's a lot of life that you give into the community. So we appreciate you.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate the opportunity to share on your platform, Vincent. And
We
I applaud you for doing this kind of work to share and help others to share what we're doing in education in our communities.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Miss Gloria Elder, everyone, always a consummate professional, always pleasant, always a joy, as you can see. Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am. And before we get out of here, I have to give you my Scholar of the Week. Okay, my Scholar of the Week this week is a blast from the past. He goes by Jaden Joyner. Jaden Joyner was the first business mentee that I had through Operation Hope back in 2016, I believe. I hadn't heard from Jaden since before the pandemic. And when he was my business mentee, he was in the 7th grade. So let me just read you what he wrote to me last week. Mind you, I hadn't heard from him since the pandemic. He said, "Hey, Mr. Cheeks, not sure if you remember me, but I'm Jaden Joyner, your former Operation Hope Business in a Box mentee. I wanted to reach out and let you know how much of an impact you've had on my life since our journey through Operation Hope, WCEG Radio, and many of the other endeavors that have helped shape me into the leader I've become and am becoming." He mentioned that word journey that you talked about earlier, Miss Elder.
Yes.
He says, "I'm currently a junior at Mississippi State University, majoring in business information systems. I have a podcast on the side called General Thoughts, where I document my peers and I experiences navigating the spaces of a PWI, predominantly white institution. And I've been fortunate to host many panel discussions and forums of my own. I wanted to say thank you for giving your time and insight on how to navigate being not only an entrepreneur, but a good speaker and a leader."
Wonderful. Wonderful. Kudos.
Look, man, he sent me this last week and my heart just overfilled with joy. I promise you. It was one of those
wonderful.
It was
So
one
you
of those
never know, you never know who's benefiting and
Correct.
how they keep coming back, because you might not know it while you're doing it. You might not see those children while you're doing it. You might say, "I have a question about that one." And that was the one that say, "Okay, let me let you know that I heard you. You matter to me. You taught me something."
Yeah.
Wonderful.
That gave me that proud papa feeling, I must say. So I was very happy that he sent that to me. It absolutely made my day. And so that's why I do what I do. That's why I work with children. That's why I work in the community for opportunities and things like that to unfold. So absolutely wonderful. Jaden Joyner, you are my Scholar of the Week. I wish you the best at Mississippi State University. And with that being said, we're going to close out our show. Thank you to my guest, Miss Gloria Elder, and the wonderful things that she does with Kaumba Storytellers of Georgia, National Association of Black Storytellers, writing curriculums, holistic stress education, preschool stress relief project, just all this wonderful stuff, training for seniors, everything. She does everything. Qigong master, you're absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you to our listening audience for tuning in. We'll be back to close out the season on May the 21st with Miss David Strayhorn, which I'm sure will be another awesome interview. So make sure you tune in on that date as well. And until then, Peace, love, and blessings. Peace.